So as we know, in last class, we studied what is genetics. That's what the branch of biology, which will study about like something which we can say like how the characters are transferring from parents to the offsprings. What is the process and what features they're like, how it will be transferring, how the features remain same throughout the lifespan of individuals, like many other things. This all the things like twins, the looks may be identical but they are not alike. So like how the parents to the offsprings, it is transferring the process, everything transmitting from parents to the offsprings, like this many things will be answered by genetics. So it has been first observed, the genetics has been observed by a scientist name. What is the scientist name called as? Everybody? Groger John. Yes, please. Roger John Mendel. So that is why Mendel is called as, or even he is considered as the father of genetics, or even a modern genetics. He is the father of modern genetics. He is the first one who has been studied a systematic study of genetical transformation. That's what characters transformation from parents to the offspring. But if you have noticed it here, this all the genetics transformation, only we can notice it a reproduction by only what? Everybody. A sexual reproduction only, there will be greater diversions, that variety, like varieties of large variations will take place from parents to the offsprings. So this all the characters transferring from parents to the offsprings and the genetical variations and all, it is not observed in the organisms which will reproduce by asexual reproduction. What is the reason, everyone? Because asexual reproduction, what is happening? It is only how many parents are contributing? Please respond. So only one parent is contributing. So that is the reason we people cannot observe the much variations from parents to the offsprings. But the greater diversity in variations is produced during the sexual reproduction. So that is why whatever the genetical changes we can notice it, which will be only during the sexual reproduction only. So if you notice here, any variations that have been acquired by individuals through reproduction, and it is passing on to the next generation. So if any two parents during the sexual reproduction, so parent 1 and parent 2, so they used to produce the offspring. So now during the time, suppose some variations happens. Now these variations are continuing with the next generation, means next offsprings is made. Again pairing. So pairing means finding the partner, and then they have started producing the next generation. So if the next generation, these variations are transferring, that is called as heritable variations. The variations which is occurs during their birth time is transferring, is continuing to the next generation. That is what we used to call as heritable variations. Means, for example, during our birth, if suppose some variation occurred from our parents to us, now this variation is transferring to the next generation of our children. That is what? Then that is called as heritable variation. But this variation is not present in where, guys? This variation is not present in where? Your parents. Our parents does not have this variation. When they are reproducing us, we are getting this variation, and this variation is going to continue in the next generation. That is what we used to call as heritable variation. Understand, Hari? Or we can say it is actually germinal variations. So these variations is existed in our parents, everybody? Yes, please. No. Do you understand, everybody? It will start, the variation will begins at the one level of reproduction. Next generations, it will be continued. Succeeding generations, it will continue. So why we used to call germinal variations? Because germ cells, sex cells will contribute in such variations. So that is the reason it is called as germinal or heritable variations. So please write it, all of it. Any variations that have been acquired by individuals, any variations that have been acquired by individuals through reproduction and passed on to succeeding generations, passed on to succeeding generation, passed on to succeeding generation is called, are called, succeeding generations are called heritable variations. Clear, everybody? Anything doubt, you can ask me. Now, I'm going to say one word. This word is there in our NCERT. You have to search it, you have to find the meaning, and you have to identify it. Yesterday, I have taught you. So if you notice it, the inheritance from the previous generation, actually, what it will give us, guys? It will give you some information. Can you tell me? Suppose if you identified some inheritance from your grandparents to you, it will give you some information. Can you tell me what is the information? Anybody? Yes, please. What it will give you? All of you? Respond. How your grandparents, how your family generation, your family tree, what is the structure? That is what I am saying. So the inheritance from the previous generation basically provides the information. What information it will provide? Mitakshri? It will provide the basic structure of the body. Whose body? The ancient, the past generations, as well as any subtle changes in it for the next generation. So what changes it is taking place from past generations to this generation? That is the actually inheritance. So with the help of inheritance, that is what transferring the characteristics from parents to the offspring, we can estimate the basic structure of them. Now, how you are analyzing? Olden days, the people are very tall. You can take Himalayans, we are getting the 10 feet body, 10 feet mummy body has been found, that bones and all. So how the people are that much tall? What is the basic structure? Everything, the inheritance only. The genes which is coming from the parents to the offspring, we can notice the previous generation's basic structure of their body, as well as any subtle changes. This is the word you have to find in your NCERT, and you have to tell me the meaning of it. So then I will say you. It is there in your book. If you are keep on finding, definitely you will be finding that word. I hope already anybody find, you can tell that also. Subtle changes. It will be there in this chapter. In this chapter beginning itself. Have you found anybody? All of you? Yes, please. Please respond. That is the reason. So yesterday I have taught you, I told you to go through that. So how much carefully you are reading, you can see that. What is the accumulation of variation during the reproduction? How much importance? That accumulation of variations only ways to say like inheritance, you can see. The first line itself, it will be there. The inheritance from the previous generation, what is the importance? Mr. Hari, here you can see. From the previous generation, it will provide the common basic body design and subtle changes in it for the next generation. Subtle changes means the minute variations which is occurs in the next generation. That is the meaning of subtle. The smallest, sukshma we can say in Tamil or Telugu we can say. The finest changes which will takes place from one generation to the next generation. Are you clear, everybody? All of you? So that is the, here you can see, this is the first question which you have to remember. What is the importance of inheritance? Please learn. Are you clear, Amma, what I'm saying? All of you? So the most important things it is. So you should know, that's the reason I said each word, each line you have to learn. Each word, everything will be important only. So write the definition once again, the heritable variations, Mr. Vijay. Any variations that have been acquired by individuals through reproduction and passed on to the next generation. So these heritable variations is present in the parents. That's what I'm asking. Is there present in the old parents? Please respond. Is the heritable variations are present in the old parents? That's what I'm asking.
No, sir.
No. Only it will happen during particular generation. When they are reproducing, it will take place. And then from that generation, it will continue to the next generation. Now, if any variation, that is only suppose. For example, let me take now two parents. If I am drawing here, parent P. Now they produce one offspring. Offspring they produce. And after mature puberty period, this offspring is paired with another one. And they produced some another generation, next generation. So this is first generation. And this is what generation, everybody? Next, second generation. Now, if you observe very carefully, for example, when these two are reproducing sexually, they produced offspring. During this, there will be a variation. Do you understand, Mr. Harish? So he got some variation, but this variation not transferring to the next generation. So only this variation occur in this generation, and it is limited to this generation only. Limited to only that particular generation. Are you understanding, Amma? Everybody? Limited to only one generation. That kind of changes we used to call as, they are not transferring from one generation to next generation. Just because of conditions, whatever the conditions, environmental conditions, this variation occurs only in one generation, but it is not continuing. That is what we used to call as non-heritable variations. Please note it. Most important one, heritable variations, non-heritable variations, or we can say somatic variations. This is the word which you have to remember. This is also you'll get it in NCERT. Somatic variations. So variations remains limited to only how many generations? Everybody. Only one generation. Only one generation you can notice that variation. Again, the next generation, it is not possible. So that is what we used to call as, what is to say, guys? Somatic or non-heritable variations. Are you clear, everyone? So after these many questions in the scientific community, so there will be again another question. So during that 1900 to 1910, 1920, that period, so always there is a, like we can say, in the mind of scientific community, that is what diversity of living organism, how it will be taking place, the diversity of living organism. So it's the biggest question mark. Many people, nobody, the studies of this diversity of organism, like different geological time scale, it is how it is taking place. It is a big question mark by the time. So has the diversity of living organisms undergone changes over the period of time? So is it changing from like one century to next century, next century to next century? Is there a diversity of organism? So there will be a big scientific like question in the entire science, this biological world of the science teacher, science scientist among an entire, like we can say, all the countries. That is the same thing. Entire scientific community. That is a question. Is this diversity of organism undergone the changes over the period of time? So then only the concept called social studies also you will study, and science also branch of biology, you can say. That is the concept called as, what is the concept we used to say? Everyone, evolution. Do you understand it? So diversity of organism over the time period means geological time period, time scale. So it is happened how the organisms are continuing from, suppose humans are not born like 2000 and now we are only the first generation. Millions of years we are having a proof that humans are existed from millions of years. That largest geographical time period, geological time scale, how we people are surviving? Do we think we people are same replication of 1,000 years before people or 10,000 years before people? Everybody? Yes, please. Please respond, guys. The organisms
Yes.
which are present today, we are all living and we are all studying. The living organisms present in today, the present diversity of living organism, is it from the ancient time? That is what I'm asking. Everyone? 100% it is not. Am I right or wrong? Because there is a transformation. There is a evolution. We are not similar to our ancient parents. Even just from last generation to this generation, these many variations during sexual reproduction, then how we are being. Olden days, the temperature is different. Olden days, the atmospheric conditions is different. Now present atmospheric conditions is different. Olden days, the food habits is different. Lifestyle is different. Many things is entirely different from now. So the available information and the gathered evidences from the sources suggested that after this, the question arises in the scientific community after the lot of research, the present diversity of organism, what we have, you and me and your friend and your mother, your father, all we are all present diversity of organisms. We are all evolved over a period of time. We are not the same like our ancient parents. We are much evolved because when the time passes away. So that is what a branch of biology which will deals with the changes and their causes in the diversity of living organism. Causes in the diversity of living organism over the period of time. That is what we used to call as evolution. Even socially we used to study human evolution. From where to whom, guys, human evolution takes place? Anybody can tell? We used to believe that human evolution takes place from. Anybody? We all used to come from something, we used to say. Just it is not true, but we used to say that. Yes, please. All of you? Yes.
Monkey.
Humans are come from monkey or ape or whatever it is. So that's what evolution. So that is the branch of science which will deals about the diversity of organism over the period of time. And you tell me, this variation is necessity for organism or not? Anybody? For the evolution, if organism evolution, suppose humans are coming from the apes, if you are believing, do you think that without variations from one generation to next generation, is it possible to see the evolution? Anybody? Yes, please. All of you. So that is why if any organism need to be see the way evolution, which is necessary. Anybody? What is necessary? The necessity for, yes, variations are necessity for organic evolutions. So any kind of organism, if they want to undergo the evolution from one generation to another generation over a period of time, 100% variations is needed. Without variations, it is not possible to survive the organism. Mainly the organisms who will reproduce by sexual reproduction, they cannot be survive with adverse changes of atmospheric conditions if there is no variations. That is why we are all now a modern humans. We are living in a 21st century. We are all people are evolved from our ancient parents because of variations. These variations only make us to survive today. Otherwise, we are not able to survive in this present 21st century. So without variations, there is no place for evolution from any kind of organism. That is what you have to remember. So this is all about what is the importance of variation, what is the accumulation of variation during reproduction. Now, if you have gone through that, so this is all about the introduction of accumulation of variations during the reproduction. It is maybe a sexual reproduction or maybe a asexual reproduction, but greater varieties of variations we can notice in most probably in sexual reproduction. But here they have given an example, even the same picture asked in last year case study. Understanding? This is the creation of diversity over succeeding generations. This just now I am saying you the diversity of organism. That is what we can say evolution is because of what, guys? Evolution, who is important? Everybody. Variations.
Very
So variations is very important. So this picture is about the variations occurs in the bacteria. You can see that the how it will be from the top organism. This is ancient bacteria, and next generation how it will be. But this is by asexual reproduction. So this entire things you have to create, you have to learn, you have to read this explanation completely now after the class. This is the most important one. Many years they will ask you the question about the bacteria. This is only for bacteria. Bacteria itself, this much variation you can notice it. So, like, of course, in a asexual reproduction, variations are limited, but still we can notice much variations you can see from one generation to next generation. So that's why go through this and you have to read it. So the next we are going to start heredity concept. That is what inheritance of traits and Mendel's contribution. So from here, the chapter will goes into the next level, and every point is very important. Which question, what basis they will ask also, you cannot even predict it. So keep reading, everyone. That is what inheritance of traits. What do you mean by traits, guys? I already taught you. What do you mean by traits? Traits, another meaning. What is this?
character.
Character. Note it. Those who don't know, learn it. Mendel's contribution. So, as I said, Mendel is considered as the father of genetics or modern genetics. So you can see whatever the principles of inheritance, what we are using, almost like inheritance of like thousands of years. But as a field of science, you can see genetics did not begin until the year of 1866. So, of course, we are using a principles of inheritance from before Mendel also, but genetics word has been first introduced by Mr. Groger John Mendel only. So, you can notice it. In this 1866 only, Mr. Mendel published the conclusions of his famous experiments on the common garden pea plant. So this is the first question arises, everyone. Why he has been chosen the pea plant? That is the first question asked many years in the board exam. That is also will start now. So he is actually a monk. He's a monk in Augustinian Montessori of Broome, Australia. He's actually a monk, and he's from Austria, not Australia. He had basically very keen observation, and he has made many distinct varieties of features or characters of a number of plants. Many varieties of plants he has been noticed in his garden. Then from that is the beginning stage of analyzing the genetics from one generation to the next generation. So when he is having a very keen observation, keenly he used to observe distinct varieties of what do you mean by distinct? Physics it is came. Physics clear. Do you understanding? A clear varieties of features or characters in like large number of plants. Then he understand the principle of inheritance of features from one generation to the next generation. So that is from that only Mr. Mendel conducted a series of hybridization experiments. Hybridization means crossing. That is what breeding from one generation to the next generation. He conducted several experiments for several years. Then only over a period of 8 years almost, he studied the garden pea plant. These men around 8 years he studied the crossing of pea plants in his garden. So that pea plant, why he has only chosen pea plant, also we'll discuss. The pea plant scientific name is Pisum sativum. Okay, so this is the scientific name of pea plant. Note it. That is also there in our NCERT. So he is the first who studied systematically study and explain the mechanism of transmission of characters from parents to offsprings, from one generation to the next generation, and also like how it is transforming. He's the first one who studied systematic analysis, and he published after 8 years of analysis and observation, very clear close observation. He has been conducted many hundreds of experiments on this within this 8 years of time. Then only he published even in his Brune, that is a Montessori at Brune, that is novels actually. So in that society itself he published. That is why he is considered as the father of genetics or modern genetics. He is the first he's the first scientist who has been introduced the concept of genes as the basis unit of heredity. So gene is the main basic unit of heredity. He is the first scientist who is using a word called as gene. That is the functional unit of heredity. So that is why it is called Mendel. That is why he is to called as gene is the factors. So factors or genes, both are same. Remember, Mendel used to call a genes as a factors. They are the main unit of heredity. Heredity means transferring. Heredity, what is another word of heredity? Everybody. Yes, please. Heredity, what is another word? Inheritance. The inheritance, the main reason itself is the gene. So, but he has been not conducted his experiments on humans or animals or any other thing. He has been conducted the experiment on a garden pea plant. Whatever is there, a garden pea plant, and why he has been experimented on this, let us discuss now. So if you notice it, the selection of garden pea plant is not just for fun, or it's not he is observed in his surroundings. Like can you think what is the essential features? Suppose future you become a scientist, if you want to study the genetical analysis of something organism, or if you want to set up a laws of genetics, so how could you choose the organism? What is your expectation? For example, if I take a human, suppose you are, how many years you can survive? Most probably, extremely, you tell me how many years you can survive? Most probably, tell me, guys. Hardly we can survive 80 years. Okay. So from the birthday, the day of birth to the death, 80 years if you have taken. Suppose I have chosen humans to study the genetics, study the inheritance, study the heredity. To study the properties of heredity, I have chosen a humans is my experimentation. Means I am going to experiment on humans. Now tell me over a period of time, your lifespan, how many generations you can study hardly? Anybody? How many generations you can study? Over 80 years of period of time, like our 20 years is gone for studies. Remaining 60 years of lifespan, how many generations of human you can study? If you want to study the genetics of humans. Anybody? Suppose like Mendel, if you want to conduct the experiment, how many generations I can study, guys? Is it possible to study more number of generations? Respond, everyone. No, because the lifespan of a humans is extremely more. So it is not possible to study the number of generations in any life period, because our life is very, like, our life is 60 years, so another human also having 60 years of lifespan. So you cannot study and single by studying the properties of a one generation, you cannot form a loss of heredity. So that is the reason he has chosen a pea plants. What is the lifespan of pea plants? Very less. The shorter lifespan and large number of generations can be studied and examined within a period of time. That is the reason he has chosen the pea plants. So there is a three essential reasons why Mr. Mendel chosen the pea plant. Because pea plant, first reason, this is the question, it will come in board exam. What is the reason behind why Mendel chosen the pea plant? Why can't we can choose the another organism? Remember, if you choose any kind of organism like animals, the lifespan of them is like years, minimum 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, so that it is difficult to study the heredity transformation or inheritance of characters in a large number of variations. So that is the reason we'll basically go with the plants. In that, he has chosen a garden pea plant, which is more familiar for him. So what is the reason behind? Reason number one. So please write it, everybody. What is the essential features should be there to study an organism? What is the essential feature should be there to study the organism? First one, shorter lifespan. So why Mr. Mendel chooses the pea plant? This is the reason. Shorter lifespan. Shorter lifespan, so that you can study more number of more generations or less generations. Anybody? We can study large number of generations over a small period of time or large period of time. Anybody? Please respond, guys. Can be studied, yes, in a small period of time or large period of time. In a small period of time. Means time period is less, but number of generations are how many? Number of generations are many. That is what. Next, presence of contrasting variations of features. Same pea plant, we are having 7 contrasting features, which has been chosen by Mendel's. We'll study that all. 7 contrasting variations. 7 contrasting variations of features. Means all are pea plants, but there is a variation. That is what. Next, third one. Years of rearing or cultivation. Means, what do you mean by race of rearing or cultivation? Anybody? Easy to grow. You might be noticed pea plant does not require more water, more care, and more pesticides, more personal observation is not required. Personal care is not required that much. That is the reason he has been chosen the pea plant. Why Mr. Mendel chosen the pea plant? These are the 3 reasons. Are you clear, everybody? All of you? So he has conducted his experiments of heredity study, the characteristics of analyzing the genetical transformation. He has chosen the garden pea plant. What is the garden pea plant? A scientific name, everybody? Pusium sativum. So because of this is the reason. Okay. So make it, everybody. Age of rearing. Age of rearing, or we can say cultivation. So almost all these features were present in the which plant? Garden pea plant. That is the reason Mr. Mendel selected garden pea plant for his experiment. If you want to choose any kind of experimentation, if you want to analyze any organism experimentation, these are the 3 things you have to remember. Are you clear, everyone? Please respond. Everybody? Yes?
Yes, sir.
That is what. Now, how Mr. Mendel experimented? That is what we have to choose it. So, experimental plant. His 8 years of span, how he has been experimented, let us discuss now. That is what we used to say, experimental plant. Mr. Nimesh, are you there? Mr. Rohit, Omar, Harizeras, that's what. So let us see now. Mendel conducted the experiment on which plant? Everybody? Garden pea plant. What is the scientific name of garden pea plant? Anybody? Yes, sir. Poisum sativum is the scientific name. So what is the reasons he has chosen this experimenting plant is pea plants have several distinct types of varieties. That is the first thing he has noticed it. Several distinct means we can clearly notice the varieties of types or varieties, different varieties. All the varieties have sharp contrasting characteristics. Sharp contrasting characteristics. They are not like similar or small 50%, 50%, 75, 25. And the madri like completely contrasting characteristics. We can see such variations like color, shape, that all. Example, if you want, such as color and shape of seeds. So we can see very sharp contrasting characteristics, like noticeable contrasting characteristics in the pea plants. Next, pea plants bears bisexual flowers. Bisexual flowers. What do you mean by bisexual flowers? Already we studied in how do organs reproduce. Bisexual flowers. Example. Yes, please. Each flower is having what? All of you? Each flower has both. What, Hari? Both male and female part. That is what we used to call as bisexual flowers. What is another flower? Mitakshri, we